Speaking of in over their heads, all the hags at The View who came after Zachary Levi when he decided to come out and openly support Donald Trump. When Zachary Levi came out and did say that he endorses Donald Trump for president of the United States, that he was on a mission to help make America great again, he certainly knew he was going to be the target of a lot of backlash from the Hollywood elites, and he was, including from the hags over at The View. Whoopi Goldberg shuts down Zachary Levi's claim that his Trump endorsement could be career suicide because Hollywood is so liberal. More BS. And just to remind everybody of Whoopi Goldberg's incredible take here, let's listen to the highly respected Whoopi Goldberg herself.
Oh boy, here we go.
We are going to take back this country. We are going to make it great again. Within my industry, as you can probably imagine, Hollywood is...
Just making sure you can hear this Zachary Levi clip,
yes,
right?
I can hear it, yes.
Thank fucking God.
Town, and this very well could constitute career suicide.
So, okay. That's not necessarily true. From the beginning of Hollywood, it's always been a very right-leaning town. But yeah. I know you don't know much about the Hollywood history, so let me school you. Uh-oh. We are, like America is, we're mixed. We're a mixed bunch. And sometimes it may seem like there's more Democrats, and sometimes it seems like there's more Republicans. But
to even make the claim right now that that's the case is insane. Yes, congratulations. It may have looked a little bit different 70 fucking years ago. Guess what? Where you could sit on a bus may have been a little different 70 years ago, Whoopi Goldberg. It doesn't mean that America is exactly the same as it was back then. It doesn't mean that Hollywood is exactly the same way as it was back then. Overwhelmingly, the vast majority of public-facing people out there in the entertainment industry, the only things you hear from them are left-wing political views because they're not allowed to espouse another opinion.
That's right. This is a massive piece of projection right here. Which it always is. I mean, does anyone actually listen to Whoopi Goldberg for an informed opinion at this point in time? Does anybody?
I mean, other stupid women. I think that's the target demographic for The View. So
yeah, I mean, she's on record she used to love Donald Trump. She used to love Donald Trump. She used to worship Donald Trump. He's been on The View before. I don't know if she was on when he was on The View, but I think she was. She used to worship this guy just like everybody else in Hollywood. But the idea that Hollywood has any type of mindset where you're allowed to, who in Hollywood right now is a prominent Trump supporter that hasn't had their, and I mean, I'm not talking like a Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt has never publicly said he supports Trump. I think we all assume he does, but who is a prominent Trump supporter who has not had their career affected in Hollywood?
Well, and she brings up, she could name two things, and one of them, let's listen to what she says right here, actually.
Truth of the matter is, very few people seem to bite it because they're Republican. John Voight, who is working.
John Voight is the one name that she can come up with. And John Voight, I think, I don't know when the last time I saw John Voight in anything big that was relevant necessarily. He's certainly been very outspoken about his political views. Someone else has to bring up Dennis Quaid.
Yep.
Right here.
Dennis Quaid, who is working. People are working. Stop that. It's more BS.
And Zachary Levi responded to some of this yesterday in his Instagram Live. And he says the idea that you could only come up with two names should tell you something. And you can bring up people like James Woods. James Woods certainly has had his political career hurt by his political opinions. He even was asked to take his name off of Oppenheimer so that they wouldn't get any backlash for it. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We'll let Zachary Levi talk a little bit here. Maybe.
To Goldberg and to Sonny and to all of the folks at The View. I don't think it's accurate to say that somehow Hollywood is both a liberal and a conservative town. To Whoopi's point, back in the day, there might have been a bit more of a balance, And there have always been more, let's say, conservative-leaning stars that have been able to say those things. But you really have to be at a certain level of your career in order to get away with it. Number one. But number two, that was also back then. And I think naming just Jon Voight and Dennis Quaid, and really you only named Jon Voight, Whoopi. Somebody else had to help you with Dennis Quaid, of actors in Hollywood that you could only name two, I think actually speaks to that. And what that means is there's plenty, and by the way, they have sent me lots of messages, plenty of people in my industry in Hollywood that are terrified to publicly say that they would vote for Donald Trump or be conservative in any way. That's why you don't see them. That's why they're not very prevalent or prominent, because they know that there's ramifications for this kind of shit. But like I said, y'all, our industry is going to be fucking gonzo. Like it already is. We're getting eroded. The pandemic and the strikes and all of these things, they've already eroded it so much. So, you know, my cry to all
damn it,
of you out there, you closeted conservatives, closeted Trump voters, y'all, it's now or never. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I do whatever you feel like you need to do. If you need to come out publicly and say it, if you don't, if you feel like you still can't, then don't. You know, I would never pressure you to that. But know that if what you're afraid of is somehow the backlash of an industry that's not going to exist very soon, then don't let that hold you back.
How long has he been this outspoken? Like, I know this is recently he's been talking about like this. How long have we known he's a Trump supporter, Zachary Levi?
Well, to be honest, he wasn't a Trump supporter, like a Trump supporter, until very recently. He endorsed RFK a long time before, and it wasn't until RFK endorsed Trump that he came out and did as well. But when you look at some of the movies that he's decided to make, like that Kurt Warner movie, when you look at some of the things he's said, it was clear that he had probably closer to more like traditional type of values than a lot of other people in the industry. But in terms of getting overtly political like that, not too much. And like I said, I think in his ideal world, and he's even said it at these events he's at, like RFK is like where he's aligned more so than just with Donald Trump.
Right, right. And then with Quaid, when did Dennis Quaid become an outspoken Trump supporter? I have to feel like that's fairly recent too.
Well, probably definitely within the last 8 years.
So,
but you know, other than that,
well,
I
know,
don't know.
Like I said, I mean, Dennis Quaid, I've only recognized him being a Trump supporter in the past year. My point being is that how can you even say that his career, again, if I'm wrong, that's fine. I haven't heard about Dennis Quaid being like this prominent Trump supporter until just recently. So the argument that Dennis Quaid's a career has not been affected by his support for Trump I don't know if that's necessarily accurate, because it's not like he's been out there supporting Trump, at least in my mind. I haven't heard anything about it. Yeah, Randy Quaid, 100%. Randy Quaid's been really outspoken. Randy Quaid's been outspoken for a long time.
Yes.
But like being, that's actually, and then of course we know Jon Voight.
And I think
Jon
one of the
Voight's
things that's
been out there a
changed,
long time.
One of the things that's changed is Trump. Because it did feel like Dennis Quaid, right? I think like you could tell he was conservative, but when it comes to Trump, it's now different. Things have changed. Part of it's Trump, part of it's culture in general, that over the last 8 years or so, it became not okay at all to espouse any sort of conservative beliefs. And sure, are people going to come and attack, I don't know, Clint Eastwood, the 90-year-old Clint Eastwood, for being a conservative? Probably not so much, but guys who are more relevant to what's going on right now, a lot of them are petrified to actually say who they might politically support. And personally, I think that's the way that it should remain. I don't think we should know who these actors support politically. I quite frankly don't give a fuck. And I think if your decision hinges on a celebrity endorsement, you might be fucking retarded. But that being said, if one side is allowed to go out and do all this campaign, all this bullshit, and the other side gets vilified, there's a problem with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a perfect world, you don't care about their opinions, and that you shouldn't really be subjected to them. But the reality of it is now with social media, we unfortunately have to know all of these fucking celebrities' opinions. And when you're left leaning, it's okay for you to publicize that and talk about that. When you're right leaning, not so much. And so Whoopi Goldberg, wrong as usual, retarded as usual, not surprising. But I agree with Ryan on, like, if your political opinion and your vote relies on a celebrity endorsement, holy shit, man, you got a lot of problems in life.
On either side, yeah.
Yeah, like 100%. Like, and I try not to let like the politics of somebody affect my view of them as an actor. Sometimes like with Mark Hamill, it's impossible to avoid. You just can't. Like, Mark Hamill is just such a psychopath. But like somebody like CM Punk, I'm a huge fan of CM Punk, the wrestler. Phil Brooks is a fucking left-leaning loser that I disagree on everything with. But as a wrestler, I think he's fantastic.